Today, every day, small cap investors visit Agoracom knowing this is the day to discover the world's next great company, to have their dreams come true. That's why I take to the open road, to find them, to tell their stories, to engage them, to bring them to life, because they want to connect with you from your office, your phone, your home, anywhere. Agoracom, find your dream.
Welcome to CEO Interviews, a production of Agoracom in which we take the time to speak with small cap executives to find out what's going on in the company. With us today, I'm happy to have again John Carter. He's CEO at Northern Sphere Mining. The company trades on the CSE under the stock symbol NSM. Now, for those of you who are new to the story, that's going to be a lot of you. Northern Sphere is focused on the acquisition and development of mining assets with an emphasis on cutting-edge technology. Now, some of that sounds like run-of-the-mill stuff, but this is not your dad's junior resource company. For example, the company controls two exceptional exploration properties, one in Sudbury, the Scadding Gold Project, and the other one in Arizona, that's the Black Diamond property. Just a little information on both. Scadding gold grades as high as 12.9 grams over 19 meters, 5.36 over 16 meters, just under 16 meters, and 3.9 grams over 10 meters, which are exceptional results for a tiny junior. That alone would make most companies happy. But on top of that, they've got the Black Diamond property in Arizona, 10 kilometers on trend from Freeport-McMoRan's Miami open pit porphyry. The company's soil geochem results were so good that they're reported in parts per million, not parts per billion, because people couldn't believe some of the results that came out there. As a result, the company's talked about the fact that another major has actually staked land around NSM. The company has the likes of Eric Sprott as investor, all sorts of other good stuff. I'm going to save for John. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, George. It's a pleasure to be on and have the opportunity to, bring a little bit of Northern Sphere to the world and let them get an idea of what we're about and what we're trying to accomplish and how we're going to be successful.
Well, when I think they hear what you're about to tell us, I think they're going to be excited. So let's talk about, you've got two exceptional properties. Let's go to Black Diamond first, if you don't mind, your project in Arizona. It rests on three past-producing silver vein mines. Buckeye is the primary operation there. Even though it's idle, you're fully permitted, mine shaft, facilities on the site. You've even poured silver out of there, and you're going to show us something in a bit. Let's talk about that. Go right into how great is Black Diamond and Buckeye specifically?
Well, I'm just going to start a little bit with the whole idea of what we were trying to accomplish here when we put the Northern Sphere model together. Exploration properties are exploration properties. What I tried to do was look at things that, like McEwen says, in the shadow of the head frame. The best place to find a mine is in the shadow of the head frame. So what we did was we looked for jurisdictions, safe jurisdictions, where the past production existed. I've been in the mining business for over 40 years. I built mills in many countries, exported to over 40 countries. And I know what it's like to be in these other places. We sought out the safe jurisdictions. And with Scadding in Ontario and Black Diamond in Arizona, we filled those notches. Not just the ones that say we've got these two properties in safe jurisdictions, but they all met the criteria of past production, of future potential, good sized land packages, multi-element kind of minerals. And what we decided to do was take that and build it not just as most little junior mining companies that are just looking for the next big hole so they can move on. What we decided to do is try to build it step by step and actually build a company, not just a flash in the pan, next hole, you're only as good as your next hole. You referred to some of the numbers that we had at Scadding. That's one thing. But in Arizona, what we did was we went in after the silver. You look at most silver properties, most mining properties in the US or Canada, guy goes out in his backyard, digs a hole, that's a mine. Because that's just the way it was in the old days. Now, the difference between that and what we have is our property in Arizona. Let's forget the copper and the high tech for a minute and just talk the silver. We have a 700-foot shaft. We have a 250-foot shaft, 2.5 miles away. We have the Buckeye Adit, which goes in 850 feet. It's on the vein. The vein right now is 4 feet wide. It's running 28.8 ounces of silver. We've also got over 70 adits and stockpiles and old mill sites that have been on the property that go back as far as 1838. I mean, it's a fascinating property just from a historical aspect. So while we were down there doing our work and moving the property forward, we came across with Bob Moriarty was with me, and we found all this copper malachite. It turns out we've got a very high potential porphyry style deposit that needs to be developed, and that's what we're doing. And when you referred to our soil anomaly there, we're getting numbers like 10 ounces of silver in the soils, up to 0.5% copper. We're getting over 70% of our assays had anomalous manganese, which, as you know, is a strategic mineral.
Yeah.
So we've got the silver with the near-term production potential. We've got a porphyry style deposit on our property that's running, as you said, 10 miles as the crow flies from Freeport McMoran, but it's also 16 miles away from Grupo Mexicano's property, that porphyry deposit that produces 252 million pounds of copper a year and 600.
Holy, unbelievable.
So, you know, we're on trend. We're in the right, let's call it closeology, if there's such a word. We're close to where there are other mines. And you know, the best place to find a mine is, like I said earlier, in the shadow of the head frame. So that's our Arizona property fulfills all those little niches. And what I mean by that,
just so everyone knows, just to interrupt for a second, great historical stuff, great neighborhood, but you put up that silver bar. You've actually poured about 500 ounces since 2015.
That's correct. It was just
what we were trying to test it out, not going to full production mode like that.
You know, how many junior mining companies do you know that can actually take 500 ounces of silver produced from their property with them when they go to meet people?
You mind putting up that silver bar again so we can take a close look at that?
31 ounces of silver right there that we poured at our facility. The other thing we've done is we have our own assay facility. So a lot of people, you have to pay to have your assays done. You know, it takes time, and everything that takes time goes to ALS, goes to SGS, whoever, and then you wait. What we did is we put our own little assay facility in. We hired a guy who comes in and does assays for us, and we can do assays all day long. Now, I realize that's not compliant under 43-101, but it saves us so much money that we don't have to spend. We still have to do it for compliance purposes, but we don't have to do it on our everyday trying to figure out what we're working on.
Right, so you can keep moving the ball without constantly having to send it out and wait for somebody, time, money. You could just keep moving that. That's smart, and that's what I love about your team, John.
Yeah, see, the other thing we did, like we talked a little bit about the high-tech side of it. So, and what we're doing with the hyperspec, and that's helping us identify our targets and be more specific on our targeting, and so we don't waste money. Because you waste money when you put out 100 assays, that costs a lot of money. And if you could do better work by using high tech, that's what we do. So we went out and about it was actually 7 years ago, and we actually bought our own XRF machine rather than renting one. So we go in, we can do 100 assays a day with our XRF. Now again, not 43-101 compliant, but there's an awful lot of work that goes into getting samples and moving them out. Our little gun.
And to be clear, you're going to be 43-1 compliant maybe one day when you want to get there.
We will be
for the purpose of you guys just working so you can make better decisions on the fly until you're ready for the big game.
It's economics. So that unit has paid for itself 10 times over because we can go out and do our targeting and it GPSs it, sends it back. It's the same technology that went up on the Mars rover. It's the model, the Delta model. So we did that. We bought our own ground mag survey. So we have our own station. We can set it all up and do that. The hyperspec was just the next step. What we feel is the next step in proper exploration. Costs money to drill. Costs $150 a meter to drill. And you better make sure you've got the right decision when you're putting your drill hole in. Most companies only 1 in 10 holes hit. What we're trying to do is reduce that by using the high tech to have a better sense of where we're going. Like we've done over 800 assays, and we're getting anomalous numbers in like over 70% of them. Stuff where we're getting zinc values that are measured in percent. Same with manganese. And like I said earlier, 10 ounces of silver in a soil sample. That's why one of the majors that we have some conversations that said to me, are you sure these numbers are not PPB? Because we don't see numbers like this. So because I've heard the question before, I actually had the certificate of analysis from the company who did our assays, and I just handed it to him. He says, yep, that says ppm.
So let me ask you a question. People at home are naturally going to be asking themselves right now, all right, you've got, sounds like the whole cake there, and you've actually poured some silver. Short term, they're probably going to wondering, do you plan to keep producing silver and pouring silver? What's the plan over the next couple of years?
Well, that's a good question, George, because the market changes so dramatically in our business almost on a monthly basis. One month everybody wants production, nobody wants exploration, and then the next month everybody wants exploration. If you let it, it'll drive you nuts. I mean,
well, the Greek, I'll tell you, cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. That's what a Greek will tell you.
That's right, and I don't disagree with you, and that's why we're kind of hedging our bets. So we have worked so hard. We have a lot of the infrastructure to do mining. So we can actually go into that, but we also want to evaluate this potential copper porphyry, because that in itself is a game changer.
Sure.
If that is the real thing, and there's no guarantee in this, we know that. But what we feel we have here, because of its size and its location, again, the word closology comes to mind, is because of that, we're fairly comfortable that we are onto something here. And a porphyry style deposit at this time, I think copper's got huge upside potential. I don't think you'll find anybody that will disagree with that.
And the great thing is, in the worst case scenario, let's say that part doesn't work out, you can go back and just start mining and produce some gold, some silver.
You have a fallback position. And again, like I said earlier, 700-foot shaft, 250-foot shaft, 2.5 miles away. There's got to be silver on the property. You don't dig holes like that, because you're having a good afternoon.
And if you had nothing else other than black diamond in Arizona, the project we talk about all this time, 98% of companies out there, junior companies, would be ecstatic just to have that.
That's correct. That's correct.
But you've also got Scadding and Sudbury. So just to switch gears here, all right? I mean, I mentioned some of the drill results earlier, some of the grades. You might want to give us some additional grades and then tell us, how good are those grades, relatively speaking, for the Sudbury area?
Well, that's interesting. I will just add one quick little thing is what we're talking about. Our property in Arizona is 12 miles away from Globe, Arizona, which is a mining town. We switch hats and we go to Sudbury. I think everybody in the mining business has heard of Sudbury. So Sudbury is probably, what Globe is, or pick any mining town. Sudbury is probably one of the majors. We're 50 kilometers. We're 50 kilometers from downtown Sudbury, 17 kilometers off the Trans-Canada Highway. Power to the site, year-round road. We don't have to fly helicopters in for drilling. We drive them in from Sudbury.
I was going to say, we can literally get the 400 highway in Toronto and just drive right up and right. There you go.
I leave my house in downtown Oakville, and I'm on the property in 3.5 hours by truck.
That's beautiful. So, I got to admit that. And for everyone at home, all kidding aside, that's so important, because so many companies out there have these projects either in remote regions of Canada that require very expensive operations, or have them in another country. Right. That's here, right. You've got the CEO of the company can drive up to the property in 3.5 hours.
That's right.
Or anybody else for that matter. We can take anybody else up there, not just
anybody can. I bring investors up with me. We leave I pick them up. We drive up, and I get them home that night if they want to come home. So having said that, so with our Scadding operation, it's a very unique one. I get a lot of questions. Well, Sudbury, that's nickel. You've got Vale, you've got Glencore, but that's just nickel. But do you realize that the first 1 million ounce producer in Canada was at the Clarabelle Mill, which is Vale's nickel mill? There's where the first 1 million ounce producer in Canada was done. Now, so here we are, like I said, we're 50 kilometers off the Trans-Canada Highway. It was in production in the late 80s before gold went to $260 an ounce. It produced 29,400 ounces of gold out of 140,000 tons of material, with a head grade of 7.2 grams per ton. As I said, it shut down not because they ran out of ore, because some of the best ore is right underneath where it was last mined, but it was because gold dropped to 260 and everybody shut down. I mean, there wasn't just us. It was a whole litany of small mines that just couldn't make it.
Well, of course.
So what we've done in there is we've gone in. One of the things we found was in the central zone, we really haven't drilled it. And that's because of all the underground workings. So our plan is, next step would be to water the underground so we can properly map and figure out where it is, because the last thing you want to do is drill into underground workings for the obvious reason. So we focused on the north zone. Now remember this, keep this in mind. All these numbers that I'm going to give you and the grades that you've already quoted,
Right.
they're all based on from surface to 100 meters, not below 100 meters, just 100 meters. So
that's great.
What we're talking about here is the potential for an open pit style deposit. We've been working with SRK Consulting out of Sudbury, who told us very quickly, never leave this area. You stay right here and you drill it, because this is something going on here. We've had people like Dr. Eva Chandel, who's done a research report on it, who thinks this could be an IOCG style deposit.
What is an IOCG style deposit?
Iron oxide, copper gold, which is Olympic Dam in Australia, some of the big ones. Now, it's because we see certain telltale signs in our core. But first 7 out of the first 10 holes we drilled, we got visible gold. The visible gold.
Say that again.
First 7 of the first 10 holes we drilled, we got visible gold back in 2011.
Wow.
Okay, the numbers that you quoted, I can add to that. We've got, just a little one we did last fall, we did 13.3 grams over 10.5 meters. Now, when you talk that kind of number and that kind of spacings, you're talking a reasonably high realization that you're going to come up with something in that 5 to 10 grams per ton area. We've got stuff running 1.5 meters of 106 grams, 1.5 meters of 94.5. And again, we're talking like between surface and 100 meters. Gold didn't fall from the sky, just so you know. But it did come from below, and they think we're on a splane. And we're going to get deeper, and we're going to find more and more. And you know what? I don't know whether that's the fact or not. I don't know whether it's the case. But all I know is that we have a real opportunity here to develop this into a going concern.
And what's important, if I can just interject there, is it's not just you saying this. These were the factors that led to people like Eric Sprott.
That's correct.
Becoming a big investor in the company.
That's correct.
And even though, that investment is down because a lot of the junior resources space right now is just, let's face it, for right now, there's blockchain and marijuana are really taking up a lot of the interest in the space. But that has nothing to do with the fact that the fundamentals were strong enough for someone like Eric to say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to make a significant investment in this company from what I see. And that's important for everyone watching at home. That third-party credibility, because at the end of the day, John might say whatever he has to say. That's why you always got to verify. You got to find. We all think our baby is the most beautiful babies in the world.
But everything I say, I can back up with facts and figures. They're there.
Yeah.
The numbers are real.
Third-party credibility.
The numbers are real.
Too.
So much so that right now we actually have a plant on the tailings, reprocessing the tailings at Scadding, because one of the things we found that the efficiency of the old mill that was on it wasn't that good. So we found that there was over 1 gram of gold in the tailings. We did a joint venture with somebody, and we're never going to make any money out of it. Don't get me wrong, George. But the fact of the matter is, they did all the permitting. They posted the closure bond. They went to the government and got their permit to move the property forward. And I get all the metallurgical work for free. So if you're going to do a feasibility study on a property, you'll spend between $3 and $5 million on a feasibility study. And a lot of that work is going to be the metallurgical work that you have to do. I'm getting that done for free. The other thing you got to remember, we're talking about an area of approximately 2,200 acres. This is the main leases that we have. We have over 40,000 acres on the property. We have platinum palladium. We've got nickel. We've got 100 meters of sulfides that may or may not be Sudbury breccia, but we have a report that says it could well be. We also have cobalt and copper. And so we've got so many things on that property that we haven't even had a chance to look at yet. We're still moving it forward step by step.
You're still just looking at the gold right now.
We're just focused on the gold, but we go in and we find we got cobalt. Well, people say, well, you're just jumping on the bandwagon. Well, we're not jumping on the bandwagon. It's there. The facts are in the ground. It's up to us.
Yeah, you didn't go option some property somewhere in the last 3 months because it's got some cobalt on it and you want to be
because it was the flavor of the month. No, it's on our.
You had this.
We haven't. So Sudbury, like Arizona, people sometimes say, well, you seem like you've got an awful lot on your plate. Well, we don't. We got 2 properties. It's just the 2 properties have all the minerals on that hit the high buttons. Like, look what nickel is today. And we've got nickel in our core. We've got gold, and copper, and we've got the platinum, palladium, and we're not that far down from nickel rem, which is one of the highest grade PGM deposits in the world. And we're south of it.
A lot of people could be watching this at home or at work or wherever they may be, doctor's office while they're waiting for an appointment, watching YouTube. Right. And they might say, this almost sounds too good to be true. There's too much going on here, right? They could say that.
Yep,
so what I want to do is add to what I said earlier about people in the know, people in the business who are actually putting their money where their mouth is. And where I want to move on to is you made a couple of really great board additions very recently. In the last 30 days or so. You brought on Kelly Malcolm and Roger Gross.
Right.
Malcolm, I'm going to read it. He was employed at Detour Gold, where he was involved in the discovery and delineation of the 58N gold deposit, right? And Roger Gross was vice president of Nevada operations for Midway Gold and held management positions for Freeport-McMoran, Grasberg operation, and Newmont Mining's copper mine in Indonesia. So that tells me you've got some pretty accomplished people here.
Yes.
Who have been in the mining business, and they're joining your board. Tell me what added firepower that helps bring to your company when you bring on the likes of Kelly and Roger.
Well, you see, the thing is, George, what we really need. I'm a process guy. Built mills for, like I said, for over 200 companies. Was in 40 countries, and I don't profess to know everything about the business. But my mother always said, always hire people that are smarter than you in their area of expertise. I think what we've done here with Kelly and with Roger is brought in 2 completely different subsets of expertise. Kelly, youthful, exuberance, talented, smart, knows how to do exploration geology, knows what needs to be done and how to plan it appropriately. Roger, on the other hand, Roger is more of a mineral processing, a mineral development guy. He's also the president of Crescent Silver LLC. We're sitting on a copper mine in Idaho, a silver mine in Idaho that I really get along well with him. I enjoy our time because I can sit and talk to him about another aspect of the business that I'm not expertise in. So my job is, as the CEO of this company, is to bring combine the necessary people to give the company the best advantage it has to move forward. Like I said to you earlier, this market will change. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but it will change. Good companies are going to come out of this stronger than ever.
Guys like Malcolm and Gross, I have to presume are in high demand, right?
Yes,
they're
very high demand.
People's list, so they've got their pick. It's not like you brought on George and my buddy and my cousin because you need to fill some seats. These are people who I'm presuming have their choice of where to go, and I think that's
right. Exactly.
Volumes that
and you know why they came to us?
They joined Northern Sphere Mining.
And you know why they did that? Because they believe in what we're doing. They believe in
have to, right? I mean, that's why it's not just you shooting out these numbers. These guys have obviously looked at this as well and said, hey, there may be something here. It's not guaranteed, but we like what we see. We want to be a part of this.
That's right. Well, it's the same with our advisory board. I brought on Ron Wortel. Ron Wortel is a geological engineer with an MBA. He's probably been to 1,000 properties. He was with me in 2007 when we picked up Scadding. And Dave Richardson, who's part of the Richardson family out of Winnipeg, who brings an aspect of financial capability that will enable us to move forward. So
I mean, the richest event is very big, you know, in commodities and finance. You're talking about a major powerhouse in Western Canada that maybe not a lot of junior, you know, small cap investors know about here, but that's.
But it's the type of people you have. You have to be well-rounded. Like the worst thing you can have on your board is 6 geologists, because if you ask one question to 6 geologists, you'll get 8 answers.
That's 6 geologists too many.
That's right. So what I try to do here is try to build a company with a solid foundation, because I'd rather have 2 good properties with a great management team than 2 great properties with a poor management team. So if you can be lucky enough to have a great management team and 2 great properties, I think you've got a recipe for success. And I'm not just saying that because, you know, well, I am saying it because I am the CEO, but I'm not just saying it because of what we're doing here, but I think it's the most important thing. I'm not a kid anymore, as you may be able to tell from the gray hair and what's left of it. But what I'm saying is that this is, I think, a real opportunity to be a successful company. And you asked me a question, what I'd like to be doing 2 years from now. Well, actually, I'd like to be on a beach in Hawaii, but that's beside the point. I'd really like to see this company, you know, in the hands of good people and moving forward, both on a exploration, near-term production, small-scale production, and be all the things that I think it's capable of being. And people say, well, why aren't you over in Africa chasing the big targets? No, I've been there. I'm not going back. I like where we are, safe jurisdictions, maybe not so much from the political side at the moment, but you know what? It's good. The business is moving forward. We're starting to see some movement if we see some movement in the gold price, that'd be nice, other than it's down another $11, you know, yesterday or whatever it was. But this too will turn around. We've got copper, I think, as a real good opportunity, and we've got copper. Gold and silver, we've got. Cobalt, we've got. Nickel, we've got. Tell me what I've missed. And I think I'll be able to find it on the property, so somewhere.
Well, John, I mean, what you've done up until now is pretty incredible, especially in this little down environment for junior resources. You've brought on fantastic people, and the small cap space, having great people around your boardroom, around your management team, is everything, even your investor base. So, you know, I'm not going to go back and name them again, but that's an incredible team. So we're looking forward. We could talk for another hour about it.
Oh, I know. I'll just say one other thing. Sorry.
Yeah, of course. Don't apologize.
You got to remember, we only have right now 28.9 million shares outstanding. We're doing a little financing. At the end of the day, we'll probably end up with 32 or 33 million shares outstanding. When you think about it, and good shareholders, like guys like Mr. Sprott and some other very good people on side with us, we don't have 132 million shares outstanding. We have 32. Our market cap is $2 million. And with what we've got and the capability and the potential that is within this company, it wouldn't be hard for us to be back where we should be, I think. And I know every CEO says it. I haven't met a CEO yet who doesn't say he has the greatest property in the world.
Well, I'll tell you, and I can never talk about share price, and I never do, but I'll tell you this. I've had over 300 clients, and I've had over 3,000 companies I've talked to, and every CEO, that's their job. And you very rarely find a CEO that isn't optimistic, right? That doesn't think they're about to hit. So my job is to kind of get through that, say, okay, who else agrees with you? Who else sees this potential? Because if nobody else does, then the chances are you have a CEO who's just hoping and praying. But here, the board additions you made, the people you brought to your advisory board, right? You're people like Eric Sprott as investors. These are people who are tier 1, top-notch names. And if they've looked at the same data you looked at, and they put their money where their mouth is, and join the company, that tells me a lot about the potential of, as a company, not as a stock, not as a stock price. That's for other people to determine. But as a company, it sounds like you've got all the right ingredients, and now it's just a case of, all right, let's see how this company develops in the next
put the puzzle together.
12, 18 months. But I think you're teed up, and it's just a case of how far you're going to hit the ball right now. You're going to hit it. We just don't know how far you're going to hit it. That's the only question left. That's what it looks like to me anyways.
Yes, exactly.
John, thanks for joining us today. I love the energy. I love the information. I love the people you got around it, and I hope people who've been watching this recognize the same thing. And for everyone at home, go to Northern Sphere's website or go to Agoracom, punch in Northern Sphere Mining, take a look at the information we've got for you there. And if you have any questions, post them, and John and his team will make sure you get your answers. But John, thanks for joining us today. CEO.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, great to have you. Looking forward to having you next time. Trading on the CSE on the stock symbol NSM. Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.